This is not a movie I wanted to watch. I was content to just assume I was going to hate it like I already did. I found it disgusting and condemned its existence. However, I was challenged by someone I know who has seen it and was told to judge it for what I actually see and not just what I've heard. I was so confident that I was going to be just as disgusted as I already thought I would be after seeing it. I said I'd do a review if my opinion was changed. And here I am. Cuties is not the softcore bait for the diddlers that we all thought this movie was made for. I do still hate this movie, but not for what it was perceived to be. This movie is purposely uncomfortable for a reason. Let me explain. The plot of the movie is Ami, this 11-year-old girl who is a Senegal Muslim immigrant, apologies if I mispronounced that, living in France. Her family is very devout, with her father taking on a second wife, much to the anguish of the mother. This, I believe, is what begins Ami's fall from grace, seeing the life she has to look forward to according to her family's culture and what she's being pushed as what she should live and strive for, what she should be. After this is when the titular cuties come in. They're the name of a group of girls Ami is trying to befriend. Their goal is to become the winners of a dance competition, mainly to beat this quote-unquote rival group of girls who are popular on the internet, who I think also go to their school, or they're in the area because they show up in the movie at the same dance qualifier they go to later. Let me take a break from the plot to address one of the listed controversies of the movies that you see in the warnings. The girls see one of this group's dance videos where one girl ends up flashing the camera, her breasts. First point on this, the girl who does this, that entire group, they look grown. These are very clearly adult actresses. They might be saying that they're teen or like high school girls, but I'm almost completely certain they're adults. So you're not getting an 11-year-old girl flashing her chest. This is just a brief moment of an adult woman. So we just kind of, you can feel rest of that. There's no underage nudity in this movie. Second point is it's debatably an accident. This girl isn't purposely trying to show off her chest. She's raising her hand up along her torso in one of the dance moves as they're finishing it, and it doesn't look like she's pulling it up with her hand. It looks like it got caught in probably like some wrist jewelry, and then it's an accident because she does try to cover up quickly. But this scene isn't just here for fan service, it's for a reason. I mean, you can maybe debate that the girl did it to get more likes on the video, but either way, it's in here because the video is supposed to be really popular. So Ami's being shown it, be like, yeah, this is what we're trying to be. They're trying to obtain that same level of popularity. So it ties into the theme of young girls seeing these examples on the internet, be like, I want to be popular, so I want to try and replicate what they do. Anyway, back to the story. It goes back and forth between Ami interacting with the cuties, becoming better friends with them, and being overall happier, while her home life is deteriorating. These two opposing sides keep going on a while, all while Ami is slowly changing, which is thematically visualized through her attire. She starts off quite literally wrapped in tradition, wearing her culture's dress in head wrap. Pardon me for not knowing the proper vernacular. I'm not familiar with Muslim culture and all that, so I'm just trying to be vague, but you should understand what I'm trying to say. As the movie goes on, her attire becomes skimpier and skimpier to show how she's being shaped, as she's getting shaped by the culture, as she's getting more steeped in and invested in her goal to win the competition and feel accepted by the cuties. I'll be coming back to the clothing detail later when we address the ending. Ami's behavior also changes, going from the reserved, caring, and I guess you can say obedient older sister who helps her mom with her younger brothers to what you'd imagine an 11-year-old who succumbed to the allure of social media is like. Dressing like a thought twice her age, stealing a phone to sneakily use for the internet, posting filtered, duck face selfies, getting in the fight, stealing money from her family to go on a shopping spree for friends, running off to go dance with them when she's supposed to be doing things with her family, sneaking into a laser tag area to goof around for friends, and then two things that I call the biggest highlights of her downward spiral. The first is when she's confronted by the neighbor whose phone she stole. She begins to peel off her clothes and silently offering herself, for sex in order to keep the phone because it's almost like she's addicted to the internet and she needs that connection. The dude rebukes her before she's even done, and it doesn't show anything. Like she ends up in her sports bra and like she has just unbuttoned her pants when he stops her, so it's alright. So he rebukes her. I think he like pushes her like into the wall away from him. Like, what's wrong with you? She then grabs onto him, bites him to make him drop the phone, takes it and locks herself in the bathroom, where she then takes a nude picture of her crotch. It doesn't show it. Like it keeps the camera like from her belly button up, and like the only way you can tell she actually does it is because she does the hand motion and then her pants and underwear are around her knees, but you don't see her crotch. Like there's no underage nudity in this movie. So yeah, she does that and she uploads it to the internet because she's trying to do away with the view of the cuties as little girls, which the entire school and just everyone calls them. It's something that constantly happens to them and it irritates them. They want to be perceived as adults, so she does it to try to get them cred. This does not go how she thinks it will. She ends up getting called a slut ever having her ass slapped by one of her classmates, who she then promptly stabs in the hand with a pen. And then she also gets chastised by her group, be like, why did you do this now? Everybody thinks we're easy, and they cut her out of the group. The second scene is right before the big climax. She shoves one of the members of the Cuties into a canal, and the girl almost drowns. Like, the only reason she didn't drown is because there was a buoy she managed to get to, but she's struggling for like 30 seconds while you watch, and you think she's actually going to go down. She does this so she can't attend the big competition. So she goes there so they have to accept her and let her join, because it's kind of like she's gone so far she needs to do this, or else it's all been for nothing. Yeah, and of course this leads to the infamous dance scene. So it's probably what's going to be known as in the future. And yeah, it was tough to sit through, and I could not sit through all of it. I had to skip ahead a good portion of it. It's hypersexualized, it's uncomfortable, but I think that's the point. This movie doesn't have the scene for enjoyment. It's here to show us what happens with today's youth, what can happen. I'm going to loop back to this one, so just keep that in the back of your mind, but let's get back to an earlier point I said we'd get back to with Ami's story. In this scene, she's at her most scantily clad. She's dressed like an extra in a Nicki Minaj video. But yeah, 11, so it's really weird. But it's during this that she has a breakdown. Because earlier she had, ran off from her home where her father has returned and they're having his second wedding. And she got golden confetti in her hair from one of the decorations. Now when she does a move where she whips her hair, it showers down in front of her and it shocks her out of, her, we'll call it the trance of being over there. And she breaks down and she starts just crying, or just standing tall and rigid. But she runs all the way back home off stage before the dance is even over. So yeah, she manages to get all the way back home. She begins getting chastised by her auntie. I think it's like her great aunt or her, maybe her father's aunt, whatever it is. They never clarified it. Then she finally gets comforted by her mother, who sees something's wrong with her. And yeah, and then, see, I'm sorry, I got lost for a second. So yeah, instead of her, she ditches the slutty apparel and she changes into normal clothing. Not any traditional or very conservative looking clothing, like just normal, like the middle road, like just jeans and like a female's combo top. Just normal clothing you would see any normal person wear. And then instead of going downstairs to join in with her family who is celebrating the wedding in their traditional attire and have like their traditional dance and festivities, she goes outside to the street where some of the other kids are, and she just jumps rope with them like a kid. That's basically the story. There's not too many real plot points you need to get worried about for this. Now, the clip, before we get to the real ending of my thoughts on this, I'll clip a few other controversies that are in the movie. One of them is Ami has to take a photo of a boy's privates in the bathroom. This happens because it's a dare, something where like it's bad and it's treated as something wrong, but it's a dare you could see happening in real life. It doesn't show anything. The kid freaks out and runs off on it, and even when they tried to look at the video, her thumb was covering up because she's not used to a phone. The other one is Ami gets her pants pulled down and it shows her underwear. Yeah, this scene goes on for a little too long, and it's definitely too closed up on it. It's really uncomfortable, and I wish they cut it out. But it's there for a reason. This is one of the things that helps reinforce the idea in everybody's mind that they're just little girls because she's wearing. It's weird to talk about, but it looks like underwear that 11-year-old girl would wear. So very kiddish looking. So it makes her want to do the crotch photo to help make them seem more adult. And the last one is a girl blows up a used condom to turn it into a balloon to stuff in her shirt to simulate a breast. Weirdly, a very touching scene. Because the girl who did it didn't realize what it is. She didn't know. And when all the girls are freaking out and saying stuff like, oh, you're gonna get AIDS from that. That's what people with AIDS use. Very kiddish thoughts. She ends up crying and very quietly and like almost monotone saying she couldn't have known what it was, so she can't be blamed. This is impactful because that girl was like the biggest bitch of the group. It shows that these girls are still inherently innocent, which makes them replicating all these behaviors and dances they see tragic. They have this facade of maturity, and in this moment it slips away. And it leads to I guess you could say, a wholesome scene, because later on they're in the bathroom and they're literally scrubbing her tongue. It's just, in that moment, it's trying to show us who the girls really are when they're not trying to pretend to be all bad and all that. It's something that this movie does well. It's a point it makes, showing that the girls are innocent on the inside. One of them is the girl who's the reason why they're doing the dancing is because she's been told all her life by her mom that she's a dancer, that she's been a dancer since the womb, that she was dancing in her womb. So she's always believed this, but now she's basically suffering from neglect because her parents are too busy working. And I can't quite remember. They basically said something that they don't believe that they don't support her dream. Probably because they want her to come work in the restaurant they're working at. And so she wants to win so she can prove to them that she is. Basically acting out to get attention is how I see it. All these girls have moments where they just act like normal girls wanting to have fun. Normal, everyday 11-year-olds who then also end up acting like thoughts because it's what they see is popular and liked. It's honestly it's rather tragic to see. It's sad. It also needs to be said when these girls do act in these ways, or when Ami goes too far, they are chastised for it. It never glorifies the way they act, they never make it seem okay. Many people call them out on their behavior, saying it's not appropriate. During the final dance, the audience is aghast seeing this, seeing them act like little Nicki Minaj's, booing them for acting like sluts on stage. Then this movie does do something I find clever. When, or to go back to the laser tag scene, they're escorted out by one security guard who's very clearly like, all right, I gotta call your parents for this. It's not cool. In that moment, they get the text saying that they qualified for the finals. And, they're having their, super high pitched giggly screams, cheering, like, oh, we did it. When another dude who looks like what you imagine a basement dwelling kitty diddler would looks like. And it's like, oh, yeah, we're dancers. We're going to be in the finals. Please don't tell our parents. And then the Ami proves it by, doing an ass shaking dance. And the dude's looks like he's really into it. He's almost like he's quite like cheering it on. And it's so gross. And then when they finally do leave, he gets called out by his other security guard, like, what the fuck, dude? What was that? And then in the final dance number, while many people in the crowd are like trying to look away and like cover up their kids' eyes, there's a few like in the few bits of it I could actually see when I wasn't skipping forward, there are dudes who are like, yeah, I'm into that. So, I kind of went off script to say that. Trying to find that word review. I feel these are important inclusions because it shows that there are people who are predatory and want to see girls act this way. This movie is a warning message for society, a wake-up call. The director is putting this issue under a microscope and blowing it up for us to see. Well, I wish it reduced how many times it had these zoom-ins on ass or chests of young girls or having them do the inappropriate facial expressions. I can see the point the director is trying to make. This is what we get with social media today. In our music videos, our Twitch streamers. And this is what kids are being exposed to. It's what they're replicating. And it's what the creeps are wanting and getting. Every issue I have with this film is only in it because it's an issue in society. It really is a social commentary. If you want this movie to be banned because you don't want to see children acting in these suggestive and explicit manners, then we need to address the issue of children having these kind of things available to them to see and replicate. This movie scares me because it feels all too real. These girls feel like any middle schoolers you can find in real life or online. This movie isn't a product for weirdos to enjoy. It wasn't made for them. The fact that they will find enjoyment in it of that variety is the irony of the film. Don't hate the movie for existing. Hate that this movie had to be made in the first place. You don't need to see this film. But just understand the message it's trying to tell. I am disappointed that this is going to be a black stain on the filmmaker's career. I believe this is her directorial debut. But I think it's what she kind of expected. It's now known, and hopefully its existence, being a source of controversy, is going to lead to a positive change for our society. I hope it opens up a dialogue and gets people to act, to address this issue, so that we don't have to see more commentaries like Cuties. Like, I want this to be the last movie that has to be made this way, so we can get things changed for the better. Thank you for watching it. If you made it this far to the end. Never made a video of this caliber before, and Man, did I pick a hell of a hell of a movie to try doing this on. But I said I would do it, so here it is. So yeah, I hate this movie not because I think it's bait. I hate it because it exists because there's an issue in society. I hate the reason why it needs to exist.